This isn't a joke. Those ears, not deceiving you one bit. You just heard Rolling in the Deep by Adele, as performed by Otherwise. Now, honestly, I prefer Skyfall, but the original is a phenomenal piece of music. Adele's an amazing songwriter, and her voice is even better. She's got a talent that only comes once a generation. And despite that, it just sounds better as a rock song. Try and deny it, personal preference be damned. I'm treating this as an objective fact. Because when Adrian and Ryan Patrick play that song, its truth is revealed. It's like all the emotion that's hidden and locked away is suddenly unleashed. There's passion, there's frustration, there's pain, there's rock. The best thing is there's covers like that everywhere you look. I Prevailed as a godlike blank space, and if you want to go back a few years, Through Fire just released Listen to Your Heart. Yeah, that Listen to Your Heart. The geniuses behind All Animal did it. Unfortunately, I'm still waiting for someone to do Circus, because God, I love Britney. I'm waiting patiently, please. Someone take the ore that is her best song and to the forge and make it heavy metal. Otherwise, I'll have to do it myself, and nobody wants that. But honestly, I get it. A majority of you aren't rockers. You're sitting there thinking to yourselves, Eric, that man just screamed his lungs off. Where's the art? I don't see it. And that's the point you're missing. Otherwise explains it best in Don't Even. One of the first lines is, I'm not allowed to sing, I have to scream. Like, every great rocker has a story to tell, and when you've taken their voice, it's all they can do. They can't speak, they're going to scream from the top of their lungs. Sure, blame it on toxic masculinity, blame it on the guys that think being a man means hiding your emotions, the guys that think you need to be all brawn and no brain, a giant pile of muscle, a relic from the Stone Age. To these guys, to feel something is a sign of weakness. If that guy even exists, what he doesn't get is that there's only 3 things you need to make the perfect song. And the first one's emotion. Because behind every great track is some guy talking about his feelings. That emotion is the heartbeat that brings the entire piece to life.
I need something. I can't tell if it's therapy or death.
Lincoln Park, Giving Up.
Even though I know your love is destroying me, I can't give you up.
Nothing more ripping me apart.
Starset, Gravity of You.
Bad flower, heroin.
The system is broken. The man has destroyed everything, and I'm not sure I can fight him alone.
Any song by Green Day or The Offspring.
All the strength I have comes from the family that built me.
In this moment, Roots.
I didn't know what love was until I became a parent.
Atreyu, House of Gold.
And now that you've got your feelings in check, you're going to need some killer lyrics. So what you do is you take all the rage or love or sadness or whatever is keeping you up at night, and you're going to use it to write a really angry poem. Now that's subjective. A song doesn't always need vocals. One of my favorite albums is Wake Up Call by Gary Hoey, and that's pretty much all instrumental. But good lyrics take that emotion and translate it into a language anyone can understand. They put things in perspective.
I'm not broken, so don't fix me.
Motionless in White. Soft.
No one is coming to save you. You don't have the answers, but I do.
Gemini Syndrome, Gravedigger.
When it all goes down, will you say you did everything you could?
When it all goes down, will you say that you never gave up?
Rise against. It's the eco-terrorist in me.
Zon Erviz, Jean Childan Orlida.
Translated into English. When the elephants come, they gun bow to my brethren.
The Who, Wolf Totem.
I always knew you were a coward.
I knew you were a fake.
A fraud.
I knew you'd run like a bitch.
Devour the Day, Respect. And naturally, the most important part of any song, the thing that makes you keep coming back for more, that takes the feelings, takes the word, and makes them into music, is the sound. That's the key to everything. Now, an idea is an idea, but an idea represented by two guitars, their friend the bass, and a drum kit is metal. Like how an idea spoken rhythmically over a chill beat is R&B. And I honestly don't know how to describe what vaporwave is, but some people like it. To each their own. Perfect is subjective. If you like how it sounds, it could be anything. Take Rolling in the Deep. Adele took the pain of heartbreak and made it into something she could be confident about. She took all that emotion and shoved it right in the guy's face. For all she knew, they could have had it all. It already kicked ass. But when otherwise took those same chords and made them rock, that's what made it the perfect song.
The one thing that's been true throughout history is that new tech has made it impossible for people to distinguish fiction from reality. For example, look back to December 28, 1895, when the world was gifted its first horror movie. Auguste and Louis Lumiere premiered Arrival of a Train at La Ciotat, and the audience didn't know how to react. As far as they could tell, the train was coming right for them. It was like nothing they'd ever seen. A 50-second recording of a routine stop caused a panic. According to rumor, the film had fully grown adults dashing out of theaters in shock. The illusion was so real to them that the first moviegoers were certain they'd be run over. This wasn't just a trick of the mind. The film was radical, new. It would take the world by storm. Theater was no longer a luxury only the wealthy could afford. Mass production brought it to the masses. With tickets falling from $10 to a nickel, everyone was the target audience. Entertainment would never be the same. And this is nothing new to any of us. Our generation grew up with film. 3D movies were the next big push. They were the jolt cinemas needed to keep audiences coming in the midst of a recession. My wife, Jackie, and I saw our first one when we just started dating. She was completely drawn into the spectacle of it all. She couldn't stop trying to grab fish as they seemed to swim around us. On the other hand, I was too scared to even put the glasses on. So imagine how I felt when I first heard about BMI. I think from New West, it came out like a year ago. You're putting the projector into your mind. It can show you anything, even memories. And while Jackie was an early adopter, naturally I was terrified. But there's something strange about fear. At first it feels like it's grabbing you by the neck and pulling you closer and closer until you've got no choice but to submit. But after a while, you realize, when you really stop and think about it, fear is more like a siren song. You find yourself moving closer and closer, even though you shouldn't. Even though it could cost you your life, you have to know the thing that's shaking you to your core. What's it really like? It can't be that bad, can it? So, like everyone else, I installed a BMI and just put it right in the old noggin, just to experience the spectacle for myself. Just one time. I just wanted to have a tea party with Abe Lincoln and Mickey Mouse and see if the three of us could have a real conversation. See if it worked, of course. After that, I thought I'd never use it again, but it really could show me anything. The next thing I wanted to see was the wedding. It's the happiest day of my life. Our first dance as a married couple, her laugh as I spilled champagne on my tuxedo, just completely distracted in awe of how lucky I was. Then I saw her suitcase and I said, please, Jackie, don't go. I love you. I tried stopping the car. I tried jumping in front of it. Nothing I did could get her to stop. So I worked fewer hours, took more vacations, just to spend more time with the love of my life. I adjusted my attitude. I made risks. Stepped out of my comfort zone, but it was never enough. She always left, and as I watched her drive off, I play the memory again.
I am in no way an advocate for vigilante justice, but sometimes you just snap and do something you don't necessarily regret, but falls into a moral gray area. I was tired of feeling powerless, like there's evil everywhere and it can't be fought. It's too strong. This has been true throughout history. Evil is cunning, charismatic, winning, and just when you think you've got it by the neck, the beast slithers out of your hands. No matter how hard you try to push back, evil consumes everything in its path. So I gave in. If you can't beat evil, you may have to do some yourself. Now, definitely misquoting this, but allegedly, Vladimir Putin once said, "To judge terrorists is up to God. To send them to him is up to me." Now, one Google search is all you need to prove it's fake, though. It really makes you think. When God damns some sorry bastard to hell, there's no problem. The bad guy burns and the rest of us live on, never seeing justice served. However, if I send him there a few years early, it's somehow a big deal. I have to suffer with him. We say cheers and clink our glasses as all the alcohol burns away, just like any hard feelings. It's a little unfair. And why is the man upstairs the only one who gets to judge? Not like he wasn't going to hell anyways. Some things are inexcusable. Arguably murder is one of them, but I've come to terms with that. Agreeing to play the game doesn't mean I can't complain about the rules. We used to hang men who did shit like this. That is until the guillotine came along, and with it, execution became a spectator sport. It was something you could take the kids to see after a long day. After a while, we brought the criminals into dark alleys. Once we were sure they were safe, we'd shoot them in the back of the head. And then came the advent of the electric chair, which is almost immediately deemed inhumane. Finally, mankind settles on lethal injections. According to the doctors, they're completely painless, and honestly, that's complete bullshit. I know you've committed crimes so heinous that we, the almighty and all-knowing government, have taken your right to live, but God forbid you feel anything in your death. Fuck the Eighth Amendment. If someone truly deserves to die, they should feel some of the pain they inflicted on others, even just a fraction of it. And so I made a messy cut. Intentionally, of course. While it was a direct blow to the carotid, the strike was crude. I wanted him to live, at least for a few minutes before I struck again. And part of me liked watching him bleed. It was nice to know that just once, justice had prevailed. You don't just grab an axe, stick it over hot coals until it starts to burn, and behead someone for no reason. He was tried in court, found guilty, and yet walked free. Probably wasn't his first time, wouldn't be his last, and you could tell by the way he smugly passed judgment onto others. He'd laugh at the accused because he'd gotten away with the same crime. The law had failed, so I took it in my hands and swung.
And just like that, in what seemed the blink of an eye, I was gone. About a month ago, I realized I needed to get out. It was something you never forget. I was up way too early Sunday morning, 5 at the absolute latest, but anyway. I couldn't get myself back to sleep, so I headed downstairs. An extra hour by myself seemed like it would be nice. There was enough time for me to make a real breakfast before work, the kind I hadn't had since Victoria moved me in. An omelet sounded like it would be to die for. I used to make them all the time for the guys, and I'm sure it would be an amazing surprise for my girlfriend. I'd put some sugar in my coffee for the first time in a while, and I was looking through the fridge for the sausage and the eggs when I saw her caramel creamer. Victoria was always raving about how great it tasted, and she hated coffee. So I thought to myself, I bet it'd be nice to try something sweet for a change. Maybe this will help me kick the hangover and pour the last bit into my mug. It was an accident. The bottle was solid. How was I supposed to know there wasn't that much left? I had just finished putting the eggs on the burner when my hand slipped, and even though I wasn't supposed to make any noise, my bowl hit the floor with this horrible crash. Shit. Victoria was downstairs in what felt like almost an instant. Are you fucking kidding me, Danny? Do you remember how late we were out last night? So I immediately apologized and told her I was making breakfast. Really? I just got us bagels. I was hoping to do something special for once. Just make me a coffee, you fucking prick. I just finished pouring her glass when I remembered what happened. I'm so sorry. I finished the caramel creamer. If I knew we didn't have much, I wouldn't have used any. You can have my cup if you want it. And then she really let me have it. You woke me up at 5 in the goddamn morning on my one day off, and now you're telling me there's no fucking coffee? I just said you could. She didn't even let me finish my sentence. When Victoria exploded, there was no stopping her. I just had to sit there and take it. By the time she had finished, the omelets were burnt to a crisp. All I could say was, I think I should move back in with the guys, and she jumped on the attack again. I didn't want to live with her in the first place, and every time I expressed discomfort, she'd press harder. The only argument she had were that we'd been dating for over a year, and she needed help with the rent. But she wouldn't let me say no. Looking back, I didn't even want to go on our first date. I already had plans for the night, but she wouldn't let me say no to that either. She wouldn't let me say no to anything. God, what a manipulative bitch. That's what my boss said when I told her the story. I was over 15 minutes late for work. First time since I started the job. She wasn't mad, she was just glad that I got in okay. On break, I called one of my old roommates, the one whose name was on the lease, and asked if my room had been filled. A part of me was scared, especially since it'd been a few months. I'd never really thought he considered me a friend. But good memories kept coming back to us. I almost choked on my sandwich. I was laughing like nobody could hear. And after about a month, I finally mustered up the courage to leave. Packed everything I had in the car and went home, just like that. In the blink of an eye, I was gone without a trace. All that remained was a single note where our picture used to be. Dear Victoria, it read, fuck off. We're through.
So here I am. Here we are. Took us 6 hours. But that sunset is worth every second, isn't it? Believe me, it's going to get even better. Come nightfall, you won't be able to believe your eyes. Las Vegas lit up in its entirety. Lit up just for us. And just when you think you've finally seen it all, and that it can't get any better. You'll get that first glimpse of starlight, be blown away all over again. When you're this high up, you can see them in all their glory. From here, stars shine brighter than anything on the strip. It's breathtaking. The way I see it, the top of this mountain's the closest to heaven we're even gonna get. You can see everything from up here. Okay, I know there's not much to see from the middle of the desert, but from a distance, all that nothing sure is beautiful. Think about it, dude. All the coyotes, all the cactuses, all the drunks getting quickie weddings, we're standing above them all. We can't see them, they can't see us, but here we are watching. It's almost like we're God. And Jesus, he sure got an amazing view, doesn't he? At least to me, the best part of the climb is knowing that you're not starting at the top. We paid for this view with our blood, sweat, and tears. Okay, I shouldn't be telling you this now, but the climb down's even tougher. That's a lesson you have to learn the hard way, so sleep well tonight. You're gonna need all the energy you can muster. My brother and I used to go hiking all the time. We never did anything too tough. The two of us always stayed safe. We'd find a mountain, maybe a mile high, stick right by the path on the way up. Have a delicious picnic at the summit, crack a beer in celebration of our climb, and be back home before dinner. Like when we were in college, it was something to do on summer vacation. It was a nice tradition the two of us could share. But one day I thought to myself, I want to do the real thing. Like, I went to him and I said, let's climb a mountain, like really climb it with the rope and the harness and everything. I didn't know what they were called at the time. I just knew that I wanted to get into trouble. Step outside of my comfort zone. Take a risk. At least before we went back to school. It took a little poking and prodding, but by the end of August, we'd gotten some gear, gotten a guide, and found a mountain Wikipedia promised. It was easy for beginners. And if we're being honest, when the going got tough, it taught me just how weak I was. Like, it was terrifying. I spent almost the entire climb frozen in place. My eyes were glued to the rock. What was supposed to be a 3-hour climb took more than 7. There's this one moment ingrained in my mind. I was absolutely positive I was going to fall. I was positive it was about to be the end. Don't let go. Whatever happens, you just can't let go. I don't know who it was screaming. The adrenaline was pumping and I couldn't see. I was dangling from the cliff face. Like my foothold wasn't as strong as I thought it was. And I slipped trying to pull myself upward. And I was just barely able to grab that spike our guide brought. And he had me attached to a harness, but I still needed to pull myself up. That one moment took everything I had and then some. But I lived to tell the tale. There I was, sitting over the ledge that had gotten this close to taking my life. When I had time to stop and take in the view, I was overwhelmed by the beauty of it all. It was something so gorgeous, something I'd missed. I couldn't believe my eyes, and we were only halfway to the top. The trees stretched on for miles. They pushed just past my line of sight. From then on, I was determined. I may have been scared beyond my wits' end, but just like Icarus, I needed to get higher up. It wasn't about pride. I just had to know how much better it could get. Once I reached the top, all the fear slipped away. It was true bliss. Once I'd done it once, I couldn't stop. Over time, I kept finding higher and higher peaks to strive towards. And no matter what, no matter how high up I get, once I reach the top, I am still taken away by the beauty of it all.